The National Chairperson of the ANC and Mineral Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe is expected to address members of the National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union. Nehawu is holding its policy conference, which began yesterday. Mantashe is expected to touch on the public sector wage bill. Gwede Mantashe is tracking the story for us today. He's joining us now live from Boksburg, the venue of this conference. Gwede, very good morning. Nehawu has been meeting since yesterday. They're discussing all kinds of issues. Before we talk about what we can expect Mr. Mantashe to really expand on, so far it looks like all kinds of matters have come for discussion. I saw a report referring to the issue of leadership in terms of the country, and some people in Nehawu saying maybe we should have a dictatorship of sorts to help us move the country forward. The issue of the Reserve Bank seems to have also popped up at Nehawu's conference.
Yes, indeed, Braden. You remember that Zola Sepeta, the General Secretary of Nehawu, has been very vocal against Kodongwana, the ANC's chairperson of Economic Transformation Subcommittee, and the Minister of Finance, Tito Mboweni, particularly around their views on the ANC's resolution on the nationalization of the South African Reserve Bank. Zola Sepeta yesterday, during addressing the policy conference of Nehawu, was saying that these two have become enemies of the revolution. Those were the words of Zola Sepeta, going into detail particularly around the saga of the ANC double speak on the issue of the nationalization of the Reserve Bank. You've had the SACP, Solima Paila, also coming onto stage, speaking of how the public protector, Busisiwe Mkhwebane, is seemingly listening more to those who are anti the reforms that are taking place in government. She's too close to those who are perceived to be part of the state capture project. That was the words of Solima Paila, the first Deputy General Secretary of the South African Communist Party. The policy conference was also addressed by the president of COSATU, Zingiswalos, who went into detail about the unity of COSATU unions. And remember that COSATU unions have been struggling of late. You've had SAMU, which has rather seen the entire leadership of that particular union being pushed with a vote of no confidence in their conference in Bloemfontein, and a new Central Executive Committee being elected within SAMU. You've had them also coming out and being open about their issues of finances. You've had issues surrounding SACTAU, the South African Transport Workers Union. Zingiswalos going into detail about the unity of workers. You've also had her speaking about the unity of Nehawu as well, which is now COSATU's biggest union, not only within the public sector, but overall its biggest union. You've got them raising issues of the public sector wage bill. They've also been instrumental in the role of how the national insurance must be rolled out by the new Minister of Health, Zweli Mkhize. They've also been plagued by a series of number of protests, particularly in the Northwest Province, in those various hospitals where they were not performing well, and they were at loggerheads with the administration of the day, which was then led by Supra Muhammad. They had to have Job Mahoro coming in, who was the interim premier after the recall of Supra Muhammad in that particular province, to try and resolve those issues. But they are particularly looking at policy issues which affect their members within the public service.
Okay, now today the Gwede Mantashe expected to address the meeting. You've mentioned the words public sector wage bill. I also mentioned them in the introduction. Is this a topic that Mr. Mantashe is likely to address as well during his speech?
Gwede Mantashe, the national chairperson of the ANC, is most likely to touch on issues such as the nationalization of the South African Reserve Bank. He's also probably going to touch on the government offers to offer some elderly employees within the public service to take early retirement. Remember, that was one of the policy issues that was being pushed by the then Minister of Public Administration and Service. That would be Ayanda Dlodlo. You've had spoken to the new Minister of Public Service Administration. That would be Senzo Mkhunu, going into detail and asking him if there would be any retrenchments within the public sector. He said no, there won't be, but they will be looking at the structure of government and how the government wage bill can be reduced, as it's too much at this point in time. So these are the issues that the national chairperson of the ANC and the Minister of Mineral Resources and Energy, Gwede Mantashe, may be touching on when it comes to issues of governance and policy of the government of the day, and also looking into the issue of the public sector wage bill, and also looking looking into how that can be influenced and how Nehawu can play a meaningful role within that sector. We've also had Zola Sepeta, the General Secretary of Nehawu, being very vocal on issue of policy issues of the African National Congress, is going to touch on the issues of the South African Reserve Bank and the role that unions play. Gwede Mantashe has been very critical of COSATU, particularly within the past 3 years, saying that they are largely becoming a yellow union and the industrial unions within COSATU are diminishing. Speaking about COSATU's industrial unions, the NUM, the National Union of Mine Workers, is also expected to have their own special national conference in Durban later on this year. So that's going to tie in the address of the national chairperson of the African National Congress. So that would be Gwede Mantashe, who is yet to arrive, and his speech is expected to start at about 9 o'clock when he arrives here in Boksburg at the Nehawu's policy conference, looking into various policy issues such as the nationalization of the Reserve Bank, such as also the public sector issues facing Nehawu members within hospitals where they are organizing.
And also, of course, the national health insurance, I'm sure, will form part of those discussions. Thank you very much, Samgele Masego.